In update 5.5 we got two new heavies which are preceding infamous mouse tank. A week ago I've reviewed a monster tier 8 heavy VK101P, and today we are going to look into Mauschen. Does it deserve to be called Mauschen as a little mouse or not? I'm Neil and this is my review. I already got through the history of Mauschen in review of VK101P, as they are basically same tanks and just a different version of a mouse. To know more about the history, check out the review of VK101. Moving on to World of Tanks Blitz, this is a tank which attempts to take the sidescraper crown of VK4502B. Checking the gun first, Mauschen shares very same 12.8 cm gun with VK4502B and E75, and actually with mouse itself. Same pen, same alpha, and I like 460 damage per shot, I really do. What is not same is DPM, which is actually the worst out of all tier 9 heavy tanks. Sure, E75 or VK4502B is no DPM masters either, but this one doesn't match up. Also, what is not same is aim time. It is a bit better, but comparing to the rest of the tier, it's rather average. Interesting enough, Mauschen have better aim time than mouse. That's basically the only thing which is better than mouse itself. Gun dispersion is just average as well, and while gun depression is best in class, same value shares 4 other heavies, so it is rather average as well. Yet 8 degrees is good enough to fight over the ridges in tier 8s and even tier 9s. But there is a significant but, so let's check the armor on this thing first. Starting with her upper plate, it is very same as on VK101P and mouse. That means 200mm, and by the design of the tank, the effective armor is like 340mm. When the tank is angled, it's around 400 to 500mm, so that's a no-go plate, and any tank in the game needs to find a better position to shoot at. Then lower plate is 180mm, and by the design it's 220 effective armor. Tier 8 mediums will struggle to go here. Tier 9 mediums are kind of likely to get in, at least the ones which have high penetrating guns. I expect T54 might struggle a lot. If the Mauschen is angled, we are looking like 300mm, so that's also kind of no-go for mediums and heavies. High penetrating TDs like Gorilla will go in even at this angle, at least with premium ammo. Moving on to side of the hull, 155mm is the highest in the tier. The second one is E75 with 120mm and VK4502B with 100mm, which I consider the sidescraper king, or kind of. When this side is angled, we are looking at like 300mm, 400mm, so when you are side scraping, and you can see you can kind of over angle this thing and you are still able to bounce loads of shots. You are searching for really side scraping positions, because this is a really good tank at that. Only thing for side scraping positions, you need to be aware there is a small bit behind the tracks which you should hide. Then you're perfectly fine, and even here you are looking like 270mm of armor. That's pretty cool. The rear, it's a bit different than on VK, because even though it's 135mm on VK, it is 120mm. There is no space armor. That means if you are driving T49 and you see Mauschen, you can put your hit from the rear without any issues. It will not get consumed, especially if you hit it right in the middle. Alright, turret have, let's see, a roundish shape. This roundish shape have a major issue, just like on VK101 and the mouse, and that's the issue that doesn't matter how you angle the turret vertically, because from any angle you can always find that 240mm without any issues. It doesn't matter if you are IS-8 and shooting from the bottom, and it doesn't matter if you are T-34 shooting from the top. If you are searching for the closest point in the turret, and if you are really not trying to move a much, just shooting the closest one, the flattest one, you go for 240mm, and that's something I would consider weak spot, and I would go for a turret rather than for a Trex or a lower plate. There's another weak spot, kind of, and that's a 200mm turret ring. It's a bit smaller than on VK, and on mouse it basically doesn't exist. But here we are looking at effective 254, and if you're in tanks like T-34, we are looking at like 240mm. That's definitely penable, and really a weak spot. The last weak spot on this tank is the commander's hedge. 220mm sounds like a lot. It have the same problem as the turret itself. It's very round. If someone is using premium ammunition, there is not much you can do, but yet 300mm of effective armor is quite a lot even for premium ammo. And if you're angling your tank right, you're still looking like 370 the upper plate, 380, 400, 500mm of effective armor on the side. So you are still looking on very bouncy hull and very bouncy turret, especially when you side scrape, and that's what you should do. Another feature of the armor is weight. This thing weighs almost 170 tons, and that means ramming feels awesome, and cutting down enemy heavies down by 300 HP is not something unusual, even for the heavy ones. But all the armor have to come at a cost, and that's mobility. This is the slowest heavy in a tier, and while it's improved its top speed over VK101P by 5 km/h, its power to weight ratio is mediocre. It is quite painful to chase someone if you need to, and basically if you are losing points in supremacy, the enemy would be clearly stupid to go and fight, because you can't catch him up. And yeah, alright, you can catch Tortoise and T-95, but you don't want to fight those, because they will eat you with ease. They have all the means necessary to chew through your armor, so that's something you really want to avoid. So, all in all, this tank is about the armor, giving up everything else, but is it that great as VK101P in tier 8? I'd say it is not, and it have nothing to do with tank itself, it have something to do with players. 101P is a very new tank in tier 8, and there is basically no other which have similar armor profile, and many players are just learning on VK101 where to shoot, how often to shoot, how to manage that tank. That makes VK more powerful than it is. Mauschen is in the tiers where players are used to meet mouse, more armored with less weak spots and no commander's hedge. People learned already where to shoot mouse, and people meeting VK100 already learned where to shoot VKs, so they know where to shoot Mauschen. Basically it is easy to dominate tier 9 games if you play Mauschen well, and it kind of suffers if you play tier 10s, as it's just worse mouse, and mouse is already quite easy to kill, to be honest. Yet it still performs very well. Since Black Friday I'm suffering something similar to packet loss in Blitz, and I can't really imagine to play better tank than a Mauschen in tier 9. I wasn't able to master it at the moment, and while I will probably blame the network issues, I should admit as well, there is ridiculous high bar for a mastery. I scored many 3.5 and 4,000 games and got only 3rd or 2nd class badge. That means people are really doing well in it. And if you think about it, as I already scored 3,500, 4,000 damage games, even though I had network issues, it is a good tank. It's not great, but it's good. Tier 4 tier VK101 is definitely better, but this one is not bad. It really feels like a mouse and should be played like a mouse.